Hey, this is Lady C.
Hey, this is JT.
Welcome to the Critical Thought. And guess what? We have a very interesting guest coming up on our program today. And we've seen a lot of his videos on the internet. You've probably seen him out here, and he's got a lot to say. And we want you to welcome our friend from Brooklyn.
You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
All right, Sean.
Hey, as they say, Brooklyn in the house.
He came in the building. Hey, whenever we did a show, wherever we was, once we say Brooklyn in the house, it was official.
Hey, am I allowed to say this? Daughter tied up in a Brooklyn basement.
Face it, not guilty.
Remember that?
Of course you can say that.
Oh, man.
Biggie. Notorious B.I.G.
I was there for a lot of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's awesome having you on. I'm so grateful that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to be here.
And let me tell you, it was, I don't fan out too often. I've been around the business, a lot of people that were famous, and I've been around all of them. The only time I really kind of fanned out, but it really wasn't a fan out, was I met Quincy Jones one time. And I sat there and talked to him and talked his ears off because that's history. He's a legend. But a lot of other people, I've come across so many people. Yeah. But when I got that invite from Lady C, I said, "Oh, I made it!"
Right.
Because
you are too funny.
You funny, man.
I got your video from my brother, my blood brother, not a spiritual brother, my blood brother, and he said, check them out, right?
Just trying to keep it real,
I was like, yeah, and I said, first, to keep it 100, to keep it real with you, I was watching, and I said, why did he send me a video of Jehovah's Witnesses talking? Because visually and just the vibe that I got, it felt like y'all was still just current witnesses. You had that, JT still had that thing going, the way he speaks and everything. But then when you
it's been ingrained so many years, I guess. I don't
know. yeah. So when you went left with it and started, I was like, oh. And then when you the critical thinking, how you thought, how both of you thought, I said, this is me. This is how
That's
I
you,
think.
baby. That was all of us.
Yeah. So this is a pleasure being on your show.
Hey, man, we're glad to have you here.
And thank you so much for comparing us to Quincy Jones. We appreciate that.
I just had Quincy's money. That is money. Oh, it's jokes.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It's definitely an honor.
It's really nice to have different people on. The interviews are kind of unique because everybody has a different story. And that's really the whole point of what we try to emphasize. Every person who comes in touch with this organization, and especially if you grow up in it, it will impact you in some way. It will be different for everybody, but yet there are so many commonalities that impact people. And recently we've been trying to feature what we believe and what we have observed. This is just an observation we've made over the years that we've been involved with helping people in the former Jehovah's Witness community. Sometimes, and the person who may be unbaptized is dismissed, simply dismissed. Well, you weren't really a Jehovah's Witness. And so we try to make sure that you understand there are differences. There are differences in terms of how they may be dealt with by the organization after they leave. But there are some serious commonalities that we experience, especially if you grow up as a witness. Because when you're in the third grade, being unbaptized does not save you. It does not save you from those kids in school. It doesn't save you from that Christmas party, that birthday cake. You can't invoke, I'm not baptized. That does not work.
Right.
It doesn't work. It does not work.
Nope.
When that coach comes to you in your 7th, 8th grade and says, you're good, man. We could use you. And they want to stop by your mama house and say, Miss Davis, will you sign up so your son can play? Because he's talented. You're not going to be able to invoke, well, I ain't baptized. That's not going to work. And so your life, and that's what we try to highlight, is basically the decisions that you make today oftentimes reflect on so much in terms of how we were impacted growing up as kids, whether we were baptized or not. And we see that. The relationships that we have with other people, we see that. And that's why we wanted to have you on the show today, so that you can share with us how growing up in this denomination, where decisions were made that would impact you for decades later, how this is there.
So, Shawn, you want to tell us a little bit about your history and how your family came to belong to this Jehovah's Witness arrangement?
Yes.
Yeah. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. As you previously mentioned, my grandmother, I guess I never understood the first, second, and third generation thing. I was kind of turned off by the word generation, as you probably can relate to. So when people were like, "Oh, first generation Jehovah, second generation," I was like, "What are they talking about?" Then I kind of figured it out. So I guess that I'm a third generation. My grandmother came to Brooklyn in the 30s. She became a Jehovah's Witness in the 50s. And then obviously my mom, and then now we have me. So it was something that I always knew. The only thing that I knew, when I came into consciousness, self-awareness, I think most people at the age of 4 or 5, where you kind of like aware that you're alive, I wasn't planted in the Kingdom Hall, meaning it wasn't a daily thing, because at that point, we lived on our own. Me, my mother, and my father, we were on our own, and they would, I guess, be considered the black sheep. My mother, all of her siblings were going to the Kingdom Hall, baptized. My mother believed in it, was brought up that way, but I guess when she had me, I don't remember in my really early years of consistently going to the Kingdom Hall. Although when I stayed with my grandmother, she would always pack Kingdom Hall clothes. So from the beginning, that's what I knew always. And then obviously my mother told me stories about how when I was first born, she would bring me to the Kingdom Hall and, the assemblies or whatever. So it's all I knew. Went through the whole thing about, like JT mentioned, going to school, not saluting the flag, birthdays, stayed away from obviously Halloween or any I guess celebration, pagan celebration at that. So it was a way of life. There wasn't anything out of the norm for me because it was all I knew, especially when we hit hard times. I would pray to Jehovah, I had this very close contact or this close relationship, not so much Jehovah, that's just a name and a wrong name at that, not that I believe that there's even a right name that humans could even, speak of, but that's another story. But I had this close relationship, even at 5, 6 years old, with the entity we call God. And when we would fall on hard times, I remember one time we literally had nothing. My father left. They were going through, situations, problems or whatever. And we fell on hard times to where there was literally nothing to eat. It was like nothing, And I remember, my mother crying and saying, I don't know how I'm going to feed you or whatever. And I prayed. I don't know why. I guess I'm used to my mother. I'll see her pray, or whenever we ate, she would say, pray to Jehovah or whatever. So I prayed and said, we need help or whatever. And for whatever reason, I climbed on the kitchen counter and I reached on top of a cabinet that was like, almost touching the ceiling, the top of the cabinet. And I found a $5 food stamp. And that sealed the deal with me. So I say that to say that I had some sort of internal contract that I made with the Jehovah, whether it was conscious or subconscious. I said, I have to stick by you because I know that you are real. This can never happen. Who in the hell put a $5 food stamp at the top of the cabinet? It could have been the person or the tenants that lived there before us, whatever the reason. I said, God is real. Jehovah is real. And I kind of felt like I owed him my loyalty. And that was the beginning of me kind of forging this relationship with Jehovah. And so and then we would go to the Kingdom Hall here and there, the assemblies at Yankee Stadium, and later on, and we'll speak about it, that there were certain questions that I had, that arose in my mind about, not just the Jehovah's Witness organization, but things that were in the Bible also.
Yeah. Very, 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 very powerful experience that you had there. And I'm going to tell you something. This is a lot of the statements that people made in the Watchtower and Awake magazine when they would say they were at their wits' end. I was going to commit suicide. I was going to do all these things. And then somebody knocked on my door and it was a Jehovah's Witness. And that's how a lot of people ended up getting in this religion, just stuff just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as kids, we were always taught, if you have any problem, always come back to the kingdom. And so we just tied in.
Yeah.
After a while, the organization ended up being substituted for God. I mean, it's kind of running how that works, but that's what actually happens.
Yeah. Now, Shawn, you mentioned, so now you mentioned your grandmother was baptized and all of your mother's family were all in it. But did your mother actually become a witness and get baptized? And, can you just tell us a little bit about that story there?
Yeah.
Sure. My mother got baptized late in life. She and I remember asking her, and this was powerful. And this correlates with, how the organization can make you always feel less than, or that you're not doing enough. She said, I knew, and my mother is an angel. My mother, I mean, if there was a paradise and if there was anyone that should be in paradise, my mother should be first in line, in my opinion. She just has a wonderful spirit. She loves people. And she totally, and we'll get into that. That's why I believe that it's a weird dichotomy, because this is not the organization for someone that has the makeup like my mother, because they believe in shunning and judging and all of that stuff or whatever. But I remember asking my mother, I said, you're like a good person. Like, you live like a Jehovah's Witness, and I put that in air quotes, like a Jehovah's Witness, but why aren't you baptized? And she said, it just feels to me that subconsciously I had anger towards Jehovah, because I am a good person and I try to do the right thing, and I am loving, and I believe in loving people and helping people and all those things. But it felt like Jehovah left me on many occasions. and it seemed like, he helped others as far as, her siblings and stuff. It just felt like, I'm the one that's really, really a good person inside and out. And it's like, you left me. So that was a powerful statement, because they build Jehovah up to be this almost human-like, that can be vindictive and hold grudges and have resentment and turn his back on you and then turn his back towards, you know what I mean? Like they and that's part of the reason that I used to I started questioning things, because I'm like, why are they humanizing God? Forget the name Jehovah. God, why are they humanizing God? Why are they making it seem like, like God is on this roller coaster of emotions and we control them? Humans, we control God's emotions: sad, happy, angry, mad, at any given time, and so the, long answer to that is, she became a baptized witness later in life. So, that's what it is right now.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because that's one of the tools that they use, man. You can lose Jehovah's spirit. Jehovah will take his spirit away. And then you ask, well, what do you do? Well, you ain't reading the magazine. So then you're going to lose God's spirit because you ain't reading their little magazine. And so this constant desire to make you feel less than, man, it is one of the most powerful tools that high control groups use. Because I tell people all the time, your typical average, take your typical congregation, 80, 90, 100 publishers. The average person in Kingdom Hall is a good person. That's why they became a Jehovah's Witness. They was willing to listen to somebody come to their door and tell them some crazy stuff, and they never challenged it. And so your typical Jehovah's Witness is basically a good person who is easily misled because of how they are as a person.
Sure.
People say, I'm a goat. I ain't going to just accept what you say. And they don't become witnesses. And we dog them. Yet the kind-hearted person, they just buy everything we sell them, basically. And so the point you made about your mom and how they make you feel less than, man, that is a constant thing in this organization.
Yeah.
Constant.
Now, Shawn, I like what you said when you said, when you're 4 or 5 years old, you are aware that you're alive. I love that statement, because I don't remember what I did when I was 2 years old, but I remember when I was coming into consciousness, like you said, 4 or 5 years old, right?
Kindergarten, yeah.
And so at that time, you realized the Jehovah's Witnesses and you knew who they were and stuff like that. So at what age were you when you realized something was wrong with this religion?
Okay. When I was about, and I'll tell you, it's about 5th grade, so 10 years old. Obviously, humans, we go through trials and tribulations. No one is exempt from that. That I knew, right? So I never thought of Jehovah's Witnesses as being perfect by any means. I had people in my family that were Jehovah's Witnesses, and I saw behind the curtain. I saw the arguments. I saw all the things that happens in the world. I saw within my circle, my family, and that was the first part. Because I'm like, wait a minute, I expect some differences. Forget about what you portray out in the street, with the slow walk, the slow motion walk out in the street, and hello and hi, that was one way, but I knew behind the scenes what was going on. So I said, wait a minute, if, and I used to pose this question at a young age. I was always intuitive, always search for knowledge with anything. I don't care if it was politics, whatever. I'm a question answer. Yeah, I was the first one up with the box of Captain Crunch, reading the newspaper. You know what I mean? At 8 years old, 9 years old, watch. So I was always that person, which is the wrong recipe to have for this organization. Don't look too deep into our files, or our teachings. And that's why I said I can never be a Jehovah's Witness, even if I wanted to, because I question everything. So it was seeing two different lives. The arguments with my aunts, the cheating, the this, the that, the abuse, verbally, physically, all of that. And then I would sit in the Kingdom Hall and I would glance over and everybody is just, everybody has that, hey, how you doing, bro? And I'm looking at my, certain people in my family. It was like, you just curse Aunt so-and-so out. Yesterday, I was at the house spending the night. I can hear you in the next room, but now you want to be like, hey, brother. So yeah, so like that, and so something didn't sit right. Not saying that those things don't happen. You know what I mean? That happens in every household, but it was the fact that it just seemed so fake. Right. And I was just like, wow, not that you're going to come in the Kingdom Hall or anywhere at that matter, exposing who you are, 100%, you're not going to be the same person you are 100%, as you are behind closed doors. But I'm like, damn, y'all are really good actors. Like, so that was the first red flag. And the second one was people, and especially my mother and certain people within my family, they would worry about certain things, whether it be rent, whether it be mortgages, whether it be this or that. And me, as a 9-10-year-old, I'm like, wait, don't you rely on Jehovah? Because even though I didn't shun the organization at that time or Jehovah or any of its beliefs, I was still firm in the faith, so to speak. Like I was like, nah, you rely on God to take care of this. You put things in action, but once it's out of your control, you rely on God. So I used to hear the worrying and this, and I don't know what and I used to sit there and I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute. You have a God that you just saying, God will provide. The scripture about the birds that have, food to eat, and you are better because you're a human. Like,
right.
Y'all giving off the wrong vibes here.
Yeah.
So it just didn't sit right. That was the beginning.
Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you one of the things kids can spot hypocrisy 10 miles out. And not only do they spot it, kids will call it. King ain't got no clothes on. Remember the king? He naked. He out there naked. So all the parents talking about, no, that's Versace, son. That's the Armani. No, daddy, he naked. Yeah. He naked.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And so that's it's interesting that you said, because we hear that a lot. The kids, take something as simple as the meetings. The kids will tell you, this was boring today. And the parents and the adults, they will pretend, oh, no, he was fun. No. Everybody was asleep, Mama. I saw it. Everybody was asleep.
They'll say, well, Moses couldn't speak that well. And so Jehovah used the low things to put the high things to shame. Yeah, what's that scripture that talking about?
Kids don't buy that. Kids, they not buying that. So
they keep it real.
Yeah,
they keep it real. So Shawn, so you said, now are you an only child?
There's 7 of us. 4 in, 3 totally against it. 2 of which my brothers are elders.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow, man.
Yeah. 2 of my younger brothers are elders.
Oh, wow.
And they know how I feel. And one thing I wanted to mention also, my mother remarried, but somebody that she met at work, and he was a Jehovah's Witness. You know what I mean? That's it, right? That, I believe that's typically what it takes and all it takes for someone to connect with someone. It's like, It's like being in another country and you find someone that speaks your language, like, oh, you're from America? Let's get married. You know what I mean? So it's weird, but that's another story. But we were taken from Brooklyn because he lived out in Staten Island, New York, the fifth borough. And that's another part of this story that I started that was my first introduction to racism. Staten Island, racism within the organization. Staten Island is very segregated. Especially at that time, it was blacks over here and the whites and Italians over here. Yes. Now we went to an Italian, mainly predominantly an Italian congregation, and I don't remember open arms. I don't remember the brothers, the elders coming up to us, me, my brothers and sisters, and hey, how they usually are. I don't remember that. I remember it being very stoic, they were very unresponsive in that way. You had a couple here and there, but for the most part, and that rubbed me the wrong way, even at that young age. I was like, why don't they, they're not responsive.
Right. So, Shawn, so what you're saying here is you're coming from an area and being one of Jehovah's Witnesses in one area, and you're seeing how people are accepting you for who you are. And then you're moving to another area in the same organization, and you're not seeing that same love being shown.
Correct. Now, we lived in a hood. We lived in the projects, but for whatever reason, we went to that congregation. We had to drive to that congregation on the other side of the island. And that was the definite vibe that they put out there, Now,
what about how long did you stay in that congregation? At what age did you, is this the area that you were in when you decided, hey, no Jehovah's Witness for me?
Time to go.
Well, no, that was the questioning. That was the real big questioning. That was the part where I started saying, I know good people in the world. I can't see, because remember, this was the time where now they're trying to kind of backpedal and you're still going to die at Armageddon, but they didn't come out. I came, and I'm sure you guys came from the generation again. Right?
That's right,
the
man.
Generation, you're going to die. That's it. My grandmother would, she would be like, they call my mother Duchess, Dutchie. So everybody calls her Duchess, and to Dutchie, when are you going to start serving Jehovah? Your kids are going to die, Dutchie.
Yeah.
That I was around, right? As she's talking to my mother, I'm sitting there like, gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, what? I want to go out and play basketball. You talking about dying? You know what I mean? So,
you're just amazing.
I came from that.
Yeah, so did I.
I mean,
so did I.
Yeah. You're gonna die.
It was serious. I mean, it was the message of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they maintain this for like 150 years. It's going to happen tomorrow. Let's get it together today, because tomorrow is going to be over with. And so you live your life every day. We joke about it all the time. My wife and I, we joke about it all the time. If you ask a Jehovah's Witness, if you ask any witness, Brother Davis, things are really bad today. You think the system can go on for another 5 or 10? Oh, no. So the average witness cannot see more than 5 or 10 years out. So then 5 years go by. Then they just adjust for the next 5 years, and they're still in this holding. They're in like a holding stage, like an airplane, waiting for the tower to bring them down. We're in a holding pattern right now, and that's the way Jehovah's Witnesses live their lives, literally in a holding pattern as we're waiting for the end, which is around the corner.
Yeah, and it's so sad because, as Shawn mentioned, I'm just trying to go play basketball right now, y'all.
I know, right?
And y'all talking about I'm gonna die. And so you see how they're putting this added pressure on children. This is creating phobias, fear, things like that. You can't be normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it definitely had an effect, you know, on our lives, even and I'm so glad you guys are doing this show, especially with me, because as you said in the intro, you know, like a lot of people cast away the unbaptized person because it's like you don't matter. But I went through it's almost like, you know, okay, I'm locked up in jail, but I get to leave. But I'm still experiencing every part of what goes on in jail. But the only difference is I get to walk out at night when they say lights out in 5. You know what I mean? I can say, hey, okay, I'm packing up and I'll be back tomorrow. But I experienced and saw everything that goes on. You know, I had to stay home sometimes. I had you know, when they had certain holidays, I had to go in another classroom. I did all that while people were going on trips or they were having fun, you know, going to the library, Shawn, with like 2 other people that were Jehovah's Witnesses, you know what I mean? And we were like sitting in the library, like 3 of us, you know, so I experienced all of that, the judgment that came as I got older. And I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but as I got older, then it started, you know, hey man, you know, going back to this is the generation we came from. When you gonna get baptized, man? They would actually, in certain congregations, because I've been to many different ones. I also lived in Florida. I lived down south. So I've been all over different congregations. You know, you got so-and-so that just got baptized, man. When you getting baptized? You know what I mean? So they would throw that, you know, in your face. And then when I started music, you know, in the early stages, it was, you know, I did my damnedest to keep that a secret. You know what I mean? Even though I wasn't baptized, but I was still at this point consistently going to the hall.
We always knew that we were going. Well, I didn't get baptized until I was 18. So even at that point, you know, going to the Kingdom Hall, I was an unbaptized witness, but I followed all the rules and things like that. And I understood it when I was younger that, you know, if I'm 10, 11, 12 years old, I was going to make it into the new system under my mom's umbrella. Because they used to teach that. They taught that. Or where I was
age of accountability.
Yeah, what was the age of accountability?
Yes.
And
you're too old now. You're too old to make it on your mama's skirt tail. Yeah, right. You're right, man. I remember they would throw it in your face.
So growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, you felt every single thing. I mean, I couldn't eat the chocolate cake at the birthday party. I couldn't do the sleepovers. I couldn't join Girl Scouts. Those kind of things, you know.
Yeah. And you're right, man. Because I remember I remember the brothers. You had 2 kinds. The ones like you said, they would throw it in your face, like when you get baptized. And I remember they would have the ones like, see, that could be you up there. They clapping for that brother right there. That could be you.
Oh, I got that.
And you be sitting there like, yeah, that is true. I would because you got 10, 15,000 people clapping. And sometimes I know at some of our assemblies, they would come back and they after the baptism, you would have sometimes the brother would say, could all those who got baptized just please stand so the friends can see you? And then you got this little boy, and he's like 8 years younger than you. You're like, okay, let me look into this thing.
What's my excuse, right?
What's my excuse?
Yeah.
So Shawn, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Really quick, what I wanted to say was, and then also, I got to the age where now I have the friends of the sons and the daughters of the elders. Yeah. And that's a whole different story. Now I'm hanging out with them, and I'm the one having to tone them down. Like, yo,
we should be doing this.
You know, so that was another portion where it's
that's called preacher's daughter syndrome. You know, the preacher's daughter got in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, they want to do everything they big enough to do because they don't like all the controls and rules that they got to follow. So they go on the deep side on the other end, right? Exactly.
That's right.
But I was going to ask you, Shawn, what is your relationship like with your family? Being an unbaptized witness, growing up in this religion, people feeling like, oh, he knows this is the truth and he knows the best way to do things, but he's not. What is your relationship with your witness family that are Jehovah's Witnesses?
I got to tell you, and I think I mentioned this in a couple of videos. Even besides my family, and I'll get to them, I've been accepted, and I made jokes about this. I've been invited to all the barbecues, all the cookouts over the years. I've even in current years, when I say current, the last 10 years, heard your song, man, saw your song. I'm talking about ministerial servants and elders' wives. Hey, glitter, glitter, glitter. That was a song that I had that was really popular, went viral and everything. Glitter guy, I saw that. And I'm like at the assembly, like, I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about this right now. Like, I'm embarrassed right now. Like, so it showed me two things. We're getting into a whole different form of this religion. They're kind of lightening up on the streets a little bit, like, so it's weird. So I've always been like, hey, what's up, Shawn? At some point they even stopped asking me, when am I going to take the next step? That died out, I would say, like literally 15 years ago. They stopped even asking me, but I would still be invited. They would be talking to me. The elders and brothers and sisters will be huddled around me. And I got my elder brothers and pioneer sisters over there, but they're around me and it showed me that spirit talks to spirits. You know what I mean? It's the core of who you are that really matters. So I think at some point they forgot that I'm sitting here with a beard on and I got lines all in my hair and they're around me and vibing with me. And hey, Shawn, you want another beer? And my brother's like sitting there like, but it showed me, and I think it showed him, like, it really don't matter. They're connecting with me at a core level. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, Lady C, no, they haven't shunned me. They know my views. I'm open about it. I try not to be dogmatic, whenever I'm in their environment. But if they say certain things, I don't disrespect it, but I'll say, they'll kind of like edit their responses or their dialogue when it comes to the organization, knowing that I'm the big brother sitting there listening and they know my views on things. Now, when they start seeing these videos, I don't know. Am I considered an apostate and being unbaptized? I don't know. Maybe they're turning a blind eye and a deaf ear. Maybe they have seen these videos and they're like, he was never baptized, so he can't be labeled an apostate.
Well, Shawn, have you thought about maybe you're their Quincy Jones? Because, people like the celebrity status. So, while you're looking at, oh, hey, look, I'm in awe of meeting Quincy, and now you are their Quincy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I get it. But there's certain people these are people that knew me for a long time. So I think that it's just, I would say, as much as I would love it to be because I was like Quincy, I would say that it was more of just how I vibe with people. My spirit, go ahead.
Right.
Let me pose this to you and share with us what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
Do you think, because there are two different things here. Is it the organization is lightening up, or is it Jehovah's Witnesses are getting tired?
That's a good question.
I'll tell you why I say that. Right now, the organization is doing full assault on apostates and apostasy and all that kind of stuff. And Chief, more and more witnesses like, I'm watching what I want to watch at home. Ain't nobody telling me I can't watch those shows or those channels. And so is it the organization is lightening up, or the witnesses are just getting tired and wore out? Like, you know what? I'm grown, man. I pay my own internet service. If I want to click on this channel and watch it, if I want to comment, I can comment. Because I remember, man, when I was growing up, they used to tell us at the assemblies, do not speak to apostates, do not look at them, have nothing. When you go out of the assembly, straightforward, you get in your car, and they be at a little sign, you just drive through the gate. Okay?
Yes.
Chief, we got people, let me give you a perfect example. When we post this video right here, we're going to get 4 or 5 Jehovah's Witnesses. I disagree. Dude, we just put it out 30 seconds ago. You sitting there waiting for us. And we start laughing. See, this is what makes it so sad, man. The Jehovah's Witness who comes online to disagree with any of our videos, yours or anybody else, they don't even, it doesn't register to them. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. So once you take a Jehovah's Witness out of the oversight of the organization and you let them be themselves, you'll see a side of Jehovah's Witnesses you've never seen. But when they're under the careful, watchful eye of the organization, they will pretend. They will pretend like, I love Jehovah and his organization. Do whatever I'm told. No, they don't. No,
well,
they don't.
Just real briefly, JT has a cousin who he never was a servant, an elder, or anything like that. But just trying to keep this short. A lot of the elders, have mad respect for him, and mainly because he gives them money. He does things for them monetarily. And we had another situation in our congregation when we were in Alexandria, Virginia, when there was this brother, very wealthy brother, lived in the congregation. He wasn't a servant, an elder either. And the circuit overseer and district overseer, they hung out with him all the time. So sometimes Jehovah's Witnesses are willing to look the other way if they feel like they're getting something from this relationship as well. So Shawn, I don't know if you were giving them any money or not, but they felt like, hey, we're gonna hang out with Shawn, or you're gonna be on the next BET Awards, and I want to be known as being his friend. I mean, because there's other things going on here too.
Yeah. But it's I know it was and great point, Lacey. But also, JD, I know it probably was more of a rhetorical question, but
it was.
You're right, and I just wanted to clarify. Yes, it's not the organization; it's the people that are tired. You're 100% correct.
It's tired, man.
Yes,
it's tired.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
If the organization was to drop the shunning thing for those who are baptized today, the witnesses would be right there, their families, man. Right.
Do you know what would happen if they stopped the shunning today? There would be so many hotels that are being booked for reunions. For people to say, I want to get back with my family, and they will be partying. You know what I'm saying?
It would.
There would not be a DJ available in the city.
And that was always weird to me. I'm like, I could be around, all my family, but the people that would disfellowship can't.
Yeah.
I just never understood that. I'm like, I till this day, I can't understand it. Like, I do understand it. I'm sorry. I do understand it, but it's just, I can't believe that they don't understand it.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, when you look back.
That happened to us just recently.
Oh, man.
My aunt started shunning me about 5 years ago. She died last year. She died shunning me.
I'm sorry, who?
My aunt, my mom's baby sister.
Oh, okay.
She decided to shun me because she found out we had a YouTube channel. And so she said, we're talking against Jehovah, things like that. And bottom line is she had stopped going to the meeting some years ago, and then she got terminally ill, and then things turned for her. So she went back to the Kingdom Home. So she began to shun me, but then I started noticing how she was hooked up with some other family members of ours, but because they weren't baptized. So she was able to talk with them, laugh, and click like on their posts and things like that. But me and my dad, we're being shunned, all because we don't believe what these 8 guys in New York City says, And
that's a good point that you made when you said, she got terminally ill and then she went back to the Kingdom. So many of people that I knew in my age bracket and friends, as soon as things get rough, like you said earlier, I think you said it, Lady C or JT, that they run back to the Kingdom Hall. And I'm like, no, just don't sell crack. just don't hold a gun on you and be out in the streets.
You wouldn't be out in the streets.
Dumb stuff. just live a normal life. Like you know, they want, yo, man, the streets is rough, bro. I'm going back to the hall. It's like,
exactly.
Just don't do that stupid
stuff. Don't do that crazy stuff you're doing.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And that's where that term sitting on the fence comes in.
Yeah.
Where people would say, I'm not going to do the Jehovah's Witness thing, but I'm going to sit on the fence. And when things get bad or when it looks like Armageddon,
I'm running back in.
Gonna hit. That's why 9/11 hit. Everybody started going back to the Kingdom Hall.
Kingdom Hall was packed, man. They were packed.
Yes.
They were packed.
Oh, they were packed. Weren't they? Yeah, I was overseas when 9/11 hit. I was on a tour. I was doing a 30-day tour in Europe because I released an album in Europe and it did fairly well. So they brought me out to Germany and Italy and all of those places. So I was out there when it hit. And my mother, she worked in Tower 1 for Dun and Bradstreet. So she was in the building when it hit.
Oh,
Thank God she got out and everything. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. That was it. Just tribulation. This is it. It's starting.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'm saying, and if you're from New York, you know exactly where, if you've ever seen where Bethel sits at, it looks right over into Lower Manhattan.
Oh, sure.
And all the Bethel, they used to tell us when I was at Bethel that we will watch, Satan's system fall into the East River. And I can imagine, man, what it must have been like at Bethel that day as they saw those towers go down. Everybody thought Armageddon is start. It has.
They did.
Now here's a kicker. Why would they think that Armageddon had started and there had been no call for true peace and security? That's right.
Very
Witnesses teach that before the end starts, the nations will cry true peace and security. So why was any Jehovah's Witness saying when those towers fell down, the end was starting?
That's right.
Exactly. And so that's when when you have a bunch of goofy teachings that you simply glue together to try to make Play-Doh and Tonka toys and stuff, that's what you end up with. Crazy stuff. Lego pieces,
And it's crazy because, sometimes, I can't, and these are fairly intelligent people, certain people that I know in my family, and we're sitting at gatherings and I'm sitting there and they are just, and that's the thing, I love them dearly, but I'm like, how do I even have a normal relationship when when certain beliefs are going to be brought up all the time?
Right.
And I'm just a deep critical thinker, and I can't just obey and submit to this foolish buffoonery anymore. I can't. When you talk about certain things, even when they start talking about politics, and that's why when the system and I'm like biting my tongue. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this.
It is bad. It is bad.
Now see what you're saying. You're saying, okay, I'm unbaptized. I ain't going to no meetings. They know how I feel, but I'm allowed to be in their company, right? But you're still limited in what you can talk about. And so that's why for me, when people say I'm PMO or I'm trying to fake it till I make it or till I leave and all that, it's like, I can't see how they can go around all those people. It's like, you're not doing me any favors by allowing me in your presence because I can't talk about what I want to talk about.
Correct. Exactly.
You're being censored. Your conversations are very censored.
Yeah, you have to kowtow to their program. That's what you have to do. And that's why people eventually stop being PMO. They reach a point like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I want to hear y'all discuss.
Yeah.
Did you see that fine point in the Awake magazine? And
I'm not knocking all you PMOs. I love y'all just the same. But I'm just saying
it reached the point
when you're PMO, it's just you can only fake it for so long.
Yeah.
And
it's wrong. And it's really difficult.
It started getting really bad for me 5 years ago, because you gotta think about it, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I was still at an assembly. You know what I mean? I was just, I would say 3-4 years ago, I was at Stanley Theater, in New Jersey, 4 years ago. But it got bad when I started walking out. I started walking out when they would say certain things, when they seemed like they would glorify the world being destroyed, and they would say certain things, and my spirit, I used to daydream about standing up and yelling profanities. And I said, this is bad. And I used to just leave for sometimes an hour at a time. I come back, sit next to my mother. She'd be like, where were you? I'm like, I never said anything at that moment, but I was like, nah, just getting fresh air. But it was like, it was almost like I was an accomplice to a crime. And I couldn't even be in the building while these people were talking. I was an accomplice to something, that was going on, and I couldn't even be there. I didn't want it rubbing off on my skin. I didn't even want it in my, in all my clothes.
That's a very interesting description. We've heard people describe it, and I know for me, that's kind of the way it was. For me, it was, I feel like I was being smothered.
Mm.
I mean, as you sit there and you see them have young kids come on the stage and they've turned down full scholarship, and you look around, you see 12, 15,000 people clapping like, you must be crazy. This boy just turned down a chance to go to Yale.
Yeah. Right.
So you would see this kind of stuff. And for me, it became like, I just feel like I'm being smothered under this craziness. And then you can't say anything. And see, that's the kicker. It's not like you say, well, that's crazy, man. No. If you say something, you will be dealt with. And so I'm like, I can't do this. Can't do this.
Right. Now, Shawn, you said that you were in the music industry and you've got some, you've had your feet wet for quite a while now, because I understand that you've been out there and been with a lot of heavy hitters. Would you say that the Watchtower, did you get started in the industry at a time when you thought you should, or do you think that your training in this religion kind of made you hesitant at first? How did things play out for you?
It was something that if I had to, I had a backup plan in my mind subconsciously. I said, I'm going to do music. This is something it was a gift. It was something that you couldn't even say, like, it's a passion. So it was like, this is going to be done, whether it's in the light or in the dark, it's going to be done. And my backup plan was that it's just going to be between me and Jehovah at some point. Even if I had to, even if I have to leave this organization, if I progress far enough in this organization, if it came down to it, I'm going to ditch the organization. It's just going to be between me and Jehovah. You know what I mean? So that was my reasoning. You know what I mean? So I always had that I was going to do music regardless. And, it's, if I have to ditch the organization, then so be it. Because I never was fully in. Even when I used to go to bat, and I used to go to bat with other well-known rappers, we would be in the studio and they would say certain things. And I would go to bat for Jehovah, not the organization, but for Jehovah. They would say, certain things. And I would say, whatever I had to debate with them about or whatever, it wasn't from the Bible. I wasn't that guy that's going to quote scriptures. I was the guy that spoke from the heart, from the inside. And I would say, but it don't make sense. Like, let's say birthdays. Oh, you don't celebrate a birthday, you follow that Jehovah thing, you know what I mean? And I would say, but because it's glorifying yourself. It's glorifying yourself. Why are you glorifying yourself? And praising yourself for living another year. That wasn't you. That wasn't your doing. That was Jehovah's doing. Jehovah allowed you to live another year. So I was very, very passionate about going to bat for Jehovah. But one thing that I also wanted to mention, relating to the music, was that, I always thought that, it was a gift from God, like, to be able to articulate myself through music. And I always thought that it had to be put out there, now the type of music or what I was saying, that's a different story. but I always knew that this was kind of like a gift, and that I had to get it out there to the masses. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You know, it's interesting that the witness culture is fascinating. If someone wants to pursue a certain non-standard thing other than, window washer and, doing yard work, the person will be you want to pursue something in the arts and entertainment, you will be discouraged by witnesses. But if you become successful or you achieve any level of success, witnesses, they want to brag about you. Oh, we're so proud of you. And it's like, hold up, dog. Because we've seen that. Yes. We see so much people who, like right now, the Watchtower want lawyers. The Watchtower is asking for lawyers. Oh. Any Jehovah's Witness who had said when they was 18 years old they wanted to be a lawyer would have been dogged. Now that they got their law degree and the Watchtower can use you, oh, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that's the way this organization works. And so I remember you said that, people you'd meet at the assembly, hey, I heard your new album. But yet if you were just starting out, they'd be like, he's doing that worldly music,
Yes.
And so
100%.
And it's just part, and it's just simply part of Jehovah's Witness culture. But let me ask you this question though, because you have a website. You have a website where you talk about your life experience being involved in this religion.
Oh yeah. So can you tell everybody what your YouTube channel is?
Yeah. You heard it here first.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Why did you name it that? You heard it here first. What's that all about?
It was based off of a Facebook page that I have called You Heard It Here First. And that was basically just, my perspective. You probably are going to hear it here first. So certain things that I speak about or whatever, I named it You Heard It Here First, based on my perspective on anything in life. So I just use that same name in the for the ex-Jehovah Witness community. You heard it here first because, I said my perspective is a little different how I guess I come across than most people that I see on the channel. I gravitate towards certain channels, yours probably being the top. There's no rhyme or reason. I gravitate towards you guys. It feels like I know you in a weird way. First thing I said to my brother when he sent me your channel, I said, do we know them? And he's like, why? I said, why does it seem like I know them? He's like, I don't know.
Because we family. We family,
right?
We family. That's right. It is,
family, right?
And
we all ate from that trough.
Exactly. And I wanted to ask you guys a question. It'd be the only question. I know you're the interviewers here.
Go ahead.
It was always something that I wanted to ask you, and I almost forgot. What kind of witnesses were you guys? So I come into your congregation. I'm visiting the area. I pop in, I got this, I got whatever else is going on, my little semi-locks or whatever, my twist in my hair. How do you greet me? How JT, you'll probably greet me first. I don't know, Lady C, you seem like you was one of those really outgoing sisters that's like, hey, really,
you know what? Good question. I love your question. I love your question.
That's a good question.
We were like the outgoing couple that invited people over. We greeted people. And I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot believe that when the circuit overseer in my mom's congregation, it was in the congregation I was in Ohio, and I was trying to meet the sister. Hi, how are you? Well, what's your name? And she didn't want to say who she was. And everybody was looking around because I hadn't met her yet. And I'm like trying to introduce myself and I'm trying to be nice and all this kind of stuff. And she's looking at me like I'm crazy. And so all of a sudden, my mom looked at me and she says, Kathy, she's the circuit overseer's wife. And I'm like, well, can't she speak? Because I'm up here trying to be nice. But yeah, she didn't want to speak.
Yeah.
Then we had this is when I was going to Pioneer School. That's when I was in Pioneer School. And I didn't know who her husband was, but it was the first day of our Pioneer School. And he was teaching our class and she happened to show up. And I guess she must have been offended because she must have felt that I should have known who she was. And I didn't. So I'm over here trying to be nice and introducing herself. And of course I'm young. So she's probably looking at me like, who's this young person over here? But then when we were in our congregation in Alexandria, same thing. We had a circuit overseer came in first time and his wife, everybody's walking around her and talking to her and so forth. And I'm trying to have a conversation and I'm asking her, where were you at? Where were you from? And different stuff, just trying to be nice and so forth. And she looked at me like, out west. And I used to live out west. And so I was like trying to figure out if we had a connection, may have run across the same people. She would not tell me what congregation or what area she had visited out west. It was almost like she was tired of people asking her that question. So, we were that couple. We always invited the friends to our home. We always made people feel comfortable. And I think that's why we kind of woke up to a lot of crazy stuff because we knew who we were. We knew that we were the nice people. But when we would see these mean, evil people come around, we'd be like, why are they so mean?
Yeah. I know my experience probably comes from my childhood. My mom had 4 kids, and her husband wasn't an elder, wasn't a brother. And so as kids, we got cut short. We never got invited. We would come to the Kingdom Hall on Sunday and the other kids would say, why y'all guys didn't come to brother so-and-so's house for the cookout? And we like, what cookout? We didn't even know anything about the cookout. And so I just made this was just something personal. I've told my wife this before. I just made a personal decision. And when I was a kid, when I was young, if I ever become an elder, I will make sure that the single kids, the single parents don't get cut short. Yes. And so we would actually make a concerted effort. When I gave talks in other congregations, we would always try to invite, if we could, someone to come along with us because other congregations will often feed you. And so we would just ask some of the lowly ones, quote unquote, in the congregation. Yes. Hey, look, I'm giving a talk this Sunday. You want to go? And I remember we had this one couple in our car, man. They had been with us like 35, 40 years. And I looked in the mirror, I looked in the rearview mirror, and they were back there just crying. I'm like, what's going on? And the brother said, all these years we've been in the truth. Ain't no brother ever invited us to go with them and give a talk. Wow. So I'm like, we used to get in trouble, man. We would try to do things. We try to have a one Saturday. We're going to stop a little bowling, go out for bowling. And so we try to set it up where after field service, we're going bowling, y'all. And we would invite all the friends, old folks, even the friends in the wheelchair. They couldn't come. They would come out. Brother JT, I can't bowl, but I just want to see y'all young folks having a good time out there. Man, do you know somebody dropped a dime to the CO on me, man? The CO called me up. He says, Brother JT, how you doing, man? I said, what's going on? How's things going? We know little small talk. And then he said, I understand you organizing bowling outings. And I'm like, well, once a month, after field service and everything, we had the friends over and everything. He said, well, okay, that's good. That's good. He said, but let me ask you a question. Do you think we could organize Saturday afternoon field service? Man, I wanted to grab this dude and snatch him through the phone, man. And as a result, man, and you know what happens when some elders don't support an arrangement? The friends start taking side. Well, brother so-and-so, they don't go to the bowling things. Well, I ain't going to be going, brothers. And so we end up canceling.
But do you know the reason why I was so mad about that is because I was sick that day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go bowling, but JT took the friends bowling.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to the next one because I was like, okay, I'm going to the next one. And then the next one didn't happen. So I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because you know how in the organization you can't go to the social activity unless you go out and field service. You can't show up for the party. You didn't have field service this morning. And so a lot of the young people, they're like, I'm going home. I want to go bowling. So they went out and field service and everything. I had you asked us how would we treat people? Yeah. We would try to treat people right. I got in trouble because I pulled the CO to the side and told him about his wife. A lot of the friends in the hall, his wife was just rude. She was just, this chick was rude. And I knew that, don't matter what your title is, man.
She wasn't rude. She was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, and so for me, after going to Bethel, I saw guys who had titles who were just jacks. So I knew your title don't mean nothing, man. You can be a fool. You can be a fool with a title. And so I asked the circus, I said, can we work together on service, man? He said, oh, yeah, no problem, man. And so we was out in field service. I said, look, man, I want to run something by you, man. I'm just telling you, you in the traveling work. And, as a result, you guys depend on the friends, giving you, little helping you out, little green handshake, that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to let you know, man, the friends are very concerned about your wife, man. Because she was just,
but you know what, JT, I was wondering why they started treating us nasty. Because let me say this.
Yeah.
So we had these two sisters in our congregation.
CO dog, man.
Actually, the one sister and then her roommate went to the other congregation.
Yeah.
She was best friends with them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know she invited us, just me and JT, and the circuit overseer and his wife, to dinner after the meeting when they were serving our congregation? They said, so her and her roommate were in the kitchen cooking. Circuit overseer and his wife and me and JT were all four of us sitting in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that Sprint commercial? You could hear a pin drop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They refused to speak to us.
Yeah, I mean
they would not.
They were just rude, and so a lot of friends wanted to say something. I think
that was after you talked to him about his wife being rude.
I didn't really care. I mean, she was wrong. She was wrong. I mean, there were a lot of the older friends, and friends were just, I don't want to say anything because she the second of she just somebody just like the other sister.
See, the reason why you knew about that was because number one, you had met her at Bethel years before. I met her when she was
at Bethel, and when she came to Bethel, I'm serious, I was there. When this sister came to Bethel, she came with two of her girlfriends. Chief, I thought she was single. She was mad.
She was acting.
She was, Chief, the boys were like, man, who them sisters your guys on tour, man? I said, yeah, man, some sisters down from Florida, man, good girl. And I didn't know she was mad. She was fronting like she was single, man. This chick was fronting like she was single.
Right. We ended up meeting her before they got into the circuit work because she came to visit the sister. No, I don't want to put names out, but she came to visit the sister that was in our congregation that knew them for years. They used to pioneer down in Florida together. And so the bottom line was we had met her before she even went into the work.
Yeah.
And when we finally saw the husband, this is before they came to our congregation to serve, and she had one name. So she was introduced. I'm not going to give you no names, but let's just say she was introduced to us as Susie. But when she got to the circuit work, she wanted to be Mary. So then when we saw the husband, we said, hey, tell Susie we said hello. And he's like, Susie? Who's Susie?
Who's Susie?
You mean Mary? I was like, that's what he did to us. That's what he did to us.
With this?
But we met her as Susie. But when she came to serve in the circuit work, she was Mary. So we're like, okay. And then my girlfriend said, well, she'll always be Susie to me. I ain't calling her no Mary. That was so crazy.
See, I used to get in trouble. I used to get in trouble all the time because if friends would come to me and if they was having problems, one of the elders, I had no problem. I had no problem pulling these guys aside because I understood everybody puts one leg in at a time. And so I just felt, look, man, let me talk to you, man. Yeah. Because I always ask you can ask my wife, she'll tell you, the question I always asked was this: how would Jesus handle this? Would Jesus do that?
Yes.
And if the answer is, well, Jesus would probably call the brother to the side, let him know that his fly is open. Then that's the same thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call the brother to the side. Your fly is open, brother.
And I'm gonna tell you something. That was a big breakdown for me. Yeah. I mean, when I say that whole scenario with that circuit overseer and his wife.
Yeah.
If that wasn't a great big crack in my foundation with the attitude, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, so
go ahead.
Yeah. So the answer to your question, man, we would have treated you well. We see this is why we do this channel. I took this religion seriously, and so when I came to realize this thing was bogus, man, it was like, hold up. This is messed up. In one of my videos, I said, the organization cannot jack with people's lives. Man, we are jacking with people's lives, man.
Yes.
I mean, the stuff that we were told, the decision that we made, it was because of this organization. So we have a lot of people's lives have been jacked up, derailed. And that was one of the things, as I was telling my lady before we started, even people who were not baptized, many people who never got baptized, they were given this as their foundation and they made decisions. Most Jehovah's Witness kids who grow up and don't get baptized, rarely do they go off to become successful people. The thing we often hear is, I'm going to die anyway at Armageddon, so it don't matter. I'm going to just live my life. No, you ain't got to do that, Chief. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that.
You said something. You said something that, and I think I mentioned, and I said it. I don't remember it verbatim, but I was like, "Damn it!" I said, "JT hit it on the nail." You know, I was doing my jog, and I finished my jog. I do my jog every morning, and I was listening to you as I was winding down, doing my walk back home. And you said something. You said, don't become the poster child. For the and correct me if I'm the Exjw that's not doing well in life.
Don't
look a certain way. Don't act a certain. Don't be the poster. And I said, yes, because it's easy for someone that's active to look out and be like, oh, look at him. Look how his life is turning out.
Yeah.
You can't do that with me.
No.
You couldn't do that with me when I was not really in, but when I was,
I understand. We understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, and you can't do it to me now. I'm living my best life. I go on vacation. I'm financially good. Got some businesses, some investment property. I'm doing well. You know what I mean?
You have a measure of happiness that they said we would not have.
Yes.
We have a measure of happiness that they said you will not have if you walk out those doors. And we're like, y'all just lying. Because I feel much better not hawking them books on the weekend. I don't know about y'all. I can't speak for you, but I feel good not hawking books on the weekend myself.
So, Shawn, you want to tell us a little bit about your career as a musician?
I've been doing it for the longest, ever since I could remember, whether it was writing poetry. I started writing poetry at a very young age, and I remember one time a teacher sent a letter home saying, your son is very, very good at putting words together in poetry. And then I started doing school plays. I started doing catalog, Sears catalog and stuff like that. So I've always been associated with the industry for a long time. Sears, Macy's catalog. Remember the little brochures that they would send inside the newspaper. So I did that. I would do school plays. Then I started doing music at a very young age, and my first commercial release was in the 90s at a really young age. You know, I was like a young teen. So I've been doing it a long time, traveled the world, experienced a lot, rubbed a lot of shoulders. And now I release my own music underneath my own company, Salem Records, which is my last name, Miles, spelled backwards. And it's kind of like like Oprah. Sell them,
like Oprah.
Yeah, like Oprah. Yeah, exactly.
Like
that's right.
Well, Harpo, I think it's all Harpo.
Harpo.
That's cool. That's cool.
I copied the format, and Salem Records, and we have our core. When I say we, because it's me and my younger brother, 1 year younger than me. He has the channel called The Back Room, we do music together. He's a producer, I'm the artist, and we release. We've done very well and kept the core audience from in the U.S. and even outside the U.S. And I'm back in theater school, so I'm back in acting school in New York City. I also manage my daughter's career. She's an actress. She's been in a lot of stuff, TV shows and stuff since she was 3 years old. She'll be 21 in 2 months. So I manage her career. So I'm involved in a lot of things. And also love to do this, what you guys are doing. I love to be a part of the community. I was talking to my brother. I said, when we gonna have an XJW assembly? Like when we gonna have everybody that does this like in one place? You know what I mean? We have our own.
We gotta do that. We gotta do that cruise, man. We gotta do that cruise.
You spoke about this before?
Yeah, we gotta do the cruise. We gotta do the cruise.
Talk of the town.
It's gonna be off the chain.
I'm in.
Yeah, it's gonna be off the chain. Look, I know you mentioned. I know you had mentioned that you had a chance over the years to work with a lot of different interesting people in the entertainment industry, with Arista Records, Clive Davis, Sidney, not Sidney Poitier, but Quincy Jones. As you look back, as you just look back over what you've been able to do, how do you feel about yourself?
I feel great. I feel that I accomplished a lot. I was at war with myself, and I think a major part of that was this organization. I was at one point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to ditch it. Not ditch music. I'll always do it at some level, but I'll ditch being in the business part of music once I feel like it's starting to get close to the end. You know what I mean? This was very early on, so now I feel at peace. This is a total peace that I have to say, like, this is what I'm doing. This is what it is. And as far as the end, there's nobody alive right now that's going to see that. You know what I mean? That's just my belief. You know what I mean? Like, that's a separate thing, it's and that's something that I said that rubbed, somebody the wrong way in my family. I said, you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same way as our uncles that died, our grandparents that died. I said, you're going to pass away.
Yeah.
And the earth is going to continue. And it's I can't speak about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years from now. Nobody can right now. I said, but I'm talking about us living right now. You're going to pass away. You're not going to see any Armageddon. You're not.
I think the most unique thing about the Jehovah's Witness teachings, because lots of denominations teach, we live in the last days, man. Things are pretty bad. So that's not really a unique teaching to Jehovah's Witness.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. But what is unique is that the Jehovah's Witness culture requires that you suspend your life. See, that's the problem. See, I got guys I work with. They'll tell you, yeah, man, JT, man, we're last days, but these boys driving Benzes, okay? These boys living boys living in $600,000, $700,000 houses, okay?
That's right.
So we can roll with that. Whereas I look at the Jehovah's Witnesses who have suspended living. They didn't prepare for themselves to retire old because we're gonna be in a new system, right? We just had my wife and I just last weekend. We went back over to Alexandria, Virginia, the place that we used to live in, when we first got married, and how much we was paying, about $600-700 a month, and that we thought it was high rent.
Well, we ended at 1,000.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, but it was when we started out, it was about $600.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, it was about $600 when we started out. We went back. As you know, Amazon is building a major headquarters in the Arlington, Alexandria area. The apartment that we was at, those apartments now are going for $2,000, $3,000, and $4,000, man.
Wow.
And so the point is, one of the things that we noticed with a lot of the witnesses who live in Northern Virginia, which is very expensive, man. Anybody familiar with Washington, D.C., it is high living here. But especially if you live in Alexandria, Virginia, because you're 15 minutes from D.C. Chief, we used to see the witnesses every year. There was witnesses who had to move around in different apartments because they raised the rent $100, $150, $200. When you re-sign your lease, if it's $675, next year is $920. The next year is $1,100. Wow. And so because witnesses don't have typically the type of jobs that you need to pay those kind of prices, because our religion teaches us the end's going to come, it's going to save our behind, we'll be okay. And as a result, you see the witnesses struggling. Right. And so this is what makes the religion that we were part of so unique. Not that we taught the world was going to end, but we taught our members, suspend your life. and just sell books and hawk down the street with little carts. And the end will save you from all your problems. And so that is what makes this thing so sad, man. It's so sad. But man,
I don't know how we would have made it, because the apartment that we were in is now going for like what, $2,000 to $4,000.
$2,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
Gee, we're talking about $2,000 to $4,000. I'm like, good.
Because we were in one of the inn apartments that was overlooking National Airport, and you could see the fireworks from our apartment.
See the fireworks from DC, yeah. And now, man, we just checked in. Like the girl's like, that one is 37, and this is 39. Good gracious! And these are like 1 and 2 bedrooms, man. These are 1 and 2 bedrooms
too.
Oh yeah,
and Chief, you can't get too. Yeah,
they will get them because this Amazon headquarters is bringing in 25,000 jobs, and the average job is $100,000 a year. So if you have a husband and wife that work for Amazon, that's two clicks. Yeah. 2 clicks. Yeah. And so they can afford to live there. But for the Jehovah's Witnesses in this area, it's gonna be on. It's gonna be
right.
On. I mean, you know.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's the mindset.
It's the mindset. But man, I tell you, we are so glad
that you can come on. Yeah. So I was gonna say, do you have any other things that you want to say, Shawn, about before we end your interview? Anything else you want to mention?
I definitely want to say that, I mean, this has been a privilege. You know, I feel like I am one with family. So this is family. But with that being said, I definitely think that we need a part 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have to continue this. There's so much that you know, I haven't spoken about that I need to address to help others. There are certain facets of my story inside this organization that needs to be expressed, and you know what I mean. So we definitely need to continue this, you know, at some point or another, you know, and I just love the job that you guys are doing. You're like the OGs of this, you know, this thing right here. There's certain people that, you know, well, that's another story. But there's certain people that you wonder why they are doing with what we are doing. You know, I think I get the feeling that there's some people that got tainted, and you know, I just thank you for opening your door to me and my story. But let's continue it.
You know? Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to say, here's what I want to say too. And I'm just grateful, you know, to just connect with you and everything. And there's a lot of people that are trying to connect with me, but I keep trying to tell people that I am my own virtual assistant. So, and you want to connect with people, but it's like, I see this person, but I just can't get to that person, but I'm getting to them. I'm getting to them.
There's so many people hit you up, man. I mean, there's so many people hitting you up. And that's why we're basically trying to tell people, you know, only use just one avenue of trying to reach us. Because I mean, you got Instagram, you got Facebook, and after a while, it just becomes overwhelming. It's not that we're not trying to get back to people. We try to get back to as many people as you can. But as time has gone on, it's the volume of people, the interest that people have. It has just grown so large, and and we believe it's going to continue to grow because now we have a tool. It's called the internet, a source of information that we did not have in this organization that today we do. And we commend everybody. We believe very firmly that every person should share their story, let their voice be heard, because everybody doesn't have the same experience. But you can rest assured that when you come up here and you set your little YouTube channel up like we did, there's going to be somebody's going to say, you know what, that's me. And that's really the whole point. This is not a competition. This is an opportunity for people to express how they feel about what happened to them. And this is why we tell people, and we try to include every type of individual circumstances, because in some way, this is what impacted you. And your story needs to be told. And so we just open up, you know, we try to reach, you know, we try to do content issues as well as personal interviews. And man, like I said, we just want to thank you for, you know, giving us the opportunity to share your story on our channel. Yeah. And we know for a fact there will be people who will hear your story and they will say, that was me. That was
and you're right, and just to piggyback off of something that you said, and I mentioned this in one of my posts, that this internet thing, if you had to categorize the internet being Satan and then Jehovah's organization, then Satan is winning. If you want to put it that way, because and I don't mean that literally, but if you want to put it that way, then for all intent and purposes, the plug should be pulled on the internet like yesterday. Meaning, like, if Jehovah is backing this organization for the organization's benefit,
plug, right?
We're supposed to be done.
I know, right?
Growing daily. So we're winning. You know what I mean? Like,
realistically, I look at the internet as a tool. A tool in the right hand, it can do very, very powerful creative works. The tool in the wrong hand, it can wreak havoc. And we have the opportunity to use this tool to help people who are asking, why am I where I am? Why do I feel the way I feel? There's so many people who are sitting in Kingdom Halls who will be watching this video, and they will say to themselves, I know something is wrong. I can feel it in my bones, but I just don't know. Our only job in putting together these various videos is to help people put the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's just like that puzzle we used to get when we was kids. You look on the box cover and you see what it's supposed to look like, and you start looking for the pieces. You start with the edges, because the edges are square.
That's right.
And then you start filling in the colors. Then you start filling in the colors. All the green gonna be up in the top. And after a while, those pieces begins to look just like it looks on the box. And that's all this is, man. This is why the organization does not want us questioning, does not want us asking the wrong question. I tell people all the time, it's not that Jehovah's Witnesses can't ask questions. You just can't question the answer. And when you're part of a group that tells you that, when you're part of a group that will dog you for not accepting the answers, that they will tell you they're not inspired and they're not infallible, then why can I not accept it then? You can't play that monkey both ways. You can't tell me that you just told me something that's not inspired, it's not infallible, but I can't question it. Man, you must be crazy. Get out of here, man. Get up out of here, man. Stop this crazy stuff.
But it's so nice. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I feel like, being my dad, traveling because of his job in the military.
Yeah.
I feel like when I used to go to different congregations and stuff, you felt like you were at home because, this is Jehovah's house and so forth. But now that now that we've left the religion and we're like on the internet now, everybody that we meet, people like yourself and all the people that we have on our channel, as you begin to say, you feel like family, we feel like we've been knowing you for a long time as well. And so it's like we just all click because we've been through the same thing. Yeah. It's like we all been to Vietnam together, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Should I say Vietnam or should I say well in the earlier years?
Afghanistan.
But we all served in Afghanistan together, right?
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. He's up in New York City with you, man. About a few years right before COVID, he did a nice little Jehovah's Witness formal, witness meetup, man, and it was just so nice. Oh my goodness, it was just so nice. We all went out to dinner, sit on the table. Everybody was telling war stories, man. I mean, it was nice, and plus we had people who came, man, and they were
shout out to Gerard Burton.
Yeah. I mean, there were people who were scared. They were really scared. We talked to people. They said, I didn't know, man. I thought y'all got here. We're going to be spinning around, y'all apostates. And they got there, man. And we just sat there and cut the food, man. And it was like, man, this is old times. Right. And so that's kind of the thing that we would like to be able to do more. As we're coming out of the COVID, we've been kicking it around. How can we, we can do little things, with a lot of these people we met on the internet, man, and we could be in Atlanta this week, we could be in LA next month, We've been thinking and kicking some things around because we are literally our own community unto ourselves.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
But hey, man, we're gonna let you fly. We know you're a businessman. And as they say, money is time and everything. So we don't want to keep you. We don't want to keep you tied down. But we thank you for coming and sharing your story, man.
Oh man, this has been love, man, and I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna take you up on that, man. We're gonna get together, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be as we say, we're gonna break
Jersey
bread
now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But we down here in DC. We down as they say, we in the DMV.
Yeah, okay.
We're in the DMV.
We'll definitely get up, and we have to continue this conversation because there's so much that it gets a little more crazier, man. And I just touched the surface on things. So
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
that'll work.
We'll do that.
All right. Thanks a bunch for being here.
Yeah.
We'll see you later, Shawn. Have a good day. Go get some rest. Go get some rest.
Yeah,
we'll do.
And so we just wrap. We'll just wrap up the show today, folks.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Shawn, for being on the program. This has been Lady C.
And this has been JT. Take care, Shawn. Be good, my man.
You too. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.